1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. The Paddock Pass is now happy to be joined by Matt Carothers of TVG, horse racing analyst. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at MattCTVG. Matt, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Always excited on Fridays because we get the opportunity to look ahead as we inch closer to outstanding racing that we have every weekend in racing, which makes our game so special.
Absolutely. We have a big weekend this weekend at Santa Anita and at Belmont.
We do.
Last weekend was a big weekend with Songbird being impressive again in the Summertime Oaks. Jerry said that they're looking to target the Coaching Club American Oaks and then the Alabama at Saratoga.
Right.
Do you feel like it's time for her to face some better competition on the East Coast? Is that why you think he's making this move?
Well, there's not really a spot for her out on the West Coast. I mean, that's sort of been the issue with the racing in Southern California. I mean, the strongest division that we've had out here the last few years. I mean, look at your Derby winners from American Pharoah, California Chrome, all have another. I mean, you go on and on with recent Derby winners, and obviously Nyquist this year. The 3-year-old division is really strong, but there's nowhere for them to run really the second half of the year. We don't have any big 3-year-old races, and the same thing in the filly division. So I don't know where they're going to run. I mean, I don't think they don't want to face Beholder out here and go against her in the Distaff division. So really, this is the only spot for her, unless they took on males. And a lot of us would like to see her run in the Betfair.com Haskell $1 million July 31st at Monmouth Park. But they're being pretty conservative with her. I get it. These are Grade 1 races, and if you can be 1-5, 1-9 in a Grade 1, I guess they're difficult to pass on. Will she get a test in these races? I don't know. Obviously, Karina Mia, Catherine Sophia, the Rachel Valentino of the world, they're better fillies, quite a bit better than the ones that she's been beating in a canter and not trying the last 3/16 of a mile and beating by 8-9 lengths out here repeatedly. But I don't know if they're that much better. I don't think she'll have a problem with the 3-year-old fillies out on the East Coast, but at least it could be somewhat of a challenge. She might have to try a little bit.
Is she the best female horse in the country, or are we still giving that to Beholder?
Oh, yeah. It's Beholder still, for sure. To me, it's right now. I don't even think it's a fair comparison, and it's nothing against Songbird because she's done nothing wrong. She wins all of her races so easily, but Beholder is one of the all-time greats. So let's not put a 3-year-old filly who really hasn't beaten a good horse yet in her career on par with one of the truly great runners we've ever had in the Distaff division, somebody that won an Eclipse Award at the age of 2 and is still great at the age of 6, a runner that put forth one of the great performances I've seen versus older males in the TVG Pacific Classic last year. She's not there. It's not really her fault, I guess. She doesn't have the seasoning. She doesn't have the experience. She doesn't have the age. She hasn't done as much. She doesn't have the resume. She doesn't have the resume yet to compare her to Beholder. That's nothing against her. We don't really know how everyone knows that Songbird's really good. We don't know if she's great yet. And I'm not saying that because I think that she's not. I think she very well could be great. But we need to see it. We haven't seen it yet. We're seeing it against marginal competition, her own sex, her own age group. So I think we'll know later in the year whether or not she's great or not. Right now we know that she's really good. The thing that does impress me, as I've been saying on the air, is that she's winning these races so easily, but she's still putting forth really good times. Her buyer, I think her last, was it 98, 99? Mm-hmm. She's close to 100 without trying. Just think about the figures she could put forth with any sort of an effort. Maybe we'll see some of that when she heads out to New York and runs at Saratoga, but as good as she is, we got to hold off on the Beholder comparisons as of now.
Matt Carothers, horse racing analyst for TVG. You can follow him on Twitter at MattCTVG. Now, Matt, we have a big weekend coming up this weekend, both at Belmont and at Santa Anita. The formerly known Hollywood Gold Cup is now run at Santa Anita, and it's this weekend. This year's edition is pretty wide open, and if I'm playing pick fours, what are the horses I have to use to make sure that I can hit it on the last race of that pick four sequence?
Yeah, it's the final race in the program, which I think is kind of neat to have the Grade 1 conclude the Saturday 9-race card at Santa Anita. There'll be a lot of folks. I know you've had Todd Schrupp on your program. This is an all race for Todd, I'm guessing. he'll press the Schrupp button here. This is a race in which I do not. I'll tell you who I don't like. First of all, it's easier for me because I think most have a chance.
Yeah,
I don't like hard aces who won this race last.
Mm-hmm.
I think too many things have to work for this horse. Need a ridiculously hot pace. This could be honest, but I don't think it'll be more than that. So I don't think win the space. The 5 probably not good enough. Opportunity and Imperative, they're both really good horses, and I was impressed with Opportunity. In the Dubai World Cup, I was over there, and I was there days in advance of the race, and he was, to me, out of the people that know what they're talking about, he was the buzz horse in the morning that you were hearing from people that are very reputable and know what they're talking about in terms of horses, the way they look in the morning, the way they train. So he loved that surface it made on, and it proved out that way. That was probably the best performance of his life, and he ran third behind California Chrome and Mubtahij March 26th. But I still don't think him and Imperative, again, with their running styles, too much to do. Bala Bali's intriguing because the dirt, the handicap division in Southern California is not that strong. These are good horses, not great. And I think it makes sense for Mandela, the trainer of Bala Bali, to give this horse a shot on dirt because the division isn't that strong and there's nobody to be afraid of in this race. This horse has some talent. He's off form a little bit. But if you think that the What Have Yous and the Flamboyants and the Midnight Storms of the world, and you could very well argue those horses are better than the horses in these. That's who he's been facing on turf. If he can run on dirt at all, he's a player. I'd probably throw him on the ticket, Brian. Lieutenant Colonel, speed's always dangerous to me. So the 4, who got caught up in a little bit of a speed duel on the 22nd of May in the Californian 46 and 2.5 mile, put away the other speed, El Orfano for Peter Miller, who ran last. I'd use the speed horse. And then Second Summer, I think, is going to be my pick.
Okay.
He's just the kind of runner that I like in this day and age in racing. Horse who goes from struggling in optional 40s to winning optional 40s to winning an optional 62.5 to then winning a grade 2 and now winning a grade 1. That's what we see. We see horses really jump up in class and do it with relative ease. It's all about your current form. And Peter Urton, the trainer of Second Summer, this horse was off form on turf. Apparently Peter liked the way this horse was working on dirt. So he ran him on dirt, started running well on dirt. Let's keep him on dirt. He's getting better and better. This is a horse that's won 3 in a row. It was 1 for 10, as recently as March in his career. And now he's a horse I'm going to pick in the Gold Cup in June at 4 for 13, coming off a grade 2 win. He's just getting better and better each and every start. I'm going to go with Second Summer to win the race. Melatonin's probably the horse to beat. And this is where, Brian, you really got to look at the odds in a race because, to me, Melatonin's not going to be 7-2 post time. I think he's going to get played. This horse is 3 for 3 at Santa Anita. His last 3 starts have been super. He crushed in the big cap over the surface. No disgrace running second to FNX, the lead handicap horse in the Oakland Park handicap, a horse he beat in the big cap. He's quick. He doesn't need to lead. He'll probably sit off Lieutenant Colonel. But I think his price will go down. If you can get 7-2 on Melatonin, he's my pick in the race. But I think his odds will go down. I think Second Summer's odds might get better. So pay attention to the board in this race. I think the morning line might be a little bit off. At an even price, I prefer Melatonin, but if Second Summer goes up to 5 or 6 to 1 and Melatonin goes down to 5 to 2 or 3 to 1, then Second Summer will be my play.
Obviously, a lot of different ways to go in that race, but the Grade 1 Triple Bend is the race just before the Gold Cup. Kobe's back has won his last 2 at Santa Anita. Now, if I'm playing pick 4s, is he a single for me? Is this his race to lose?
You could argue that. I think you include him. Yeah, I mean, he's not my top pick in this race, but it's not like he's the short price horse that I don't care about at all, that I'd be shocked if he won, and I'm not going to have any ticket. No, he's a short price horse that could very well win. He loves it at Santa Anita. 7/8 is his best distance. He's not the best gate horse in the world now, but he's good enough now to beat a field like this, and the blinkers on has really helped him. I'm in the Lord Nelson camp in this race. This is a horse I've always liked. I think Baffert's always liked. And I just thought he looked like a kind of a grown-up, in his 4-year-old debut, June 3rd. Again, another optional 75 race, Brian, and now he's stepping up to a grade 1. This is a horse that's beaten Texas Red at this distance over this racetrack as a 3-year-old in the San Vicente. He's tactical. I love the way he finished on the 3rd of June. His first start since the 26th of December, so you could argue that he needed that race. I hear he's doing well since. He's going to sit right off of Subtle Indian. There's another dangerous horse who's a quality speed horse who's 7 for 10 lifetime and just lost to a horse who was back on his A game and Wild Dude in the Grade 2 Kona Gold. I think Lord Nelson stalks Subtle Indian, gets by Subtle Indian, is able to hold off the late charge of Kobe's back. So not a strong opinion in this race, but I'm going to lean Lord Nelson at 3-1 Beharan over Baffert.
Well, now that we got Santa Anita down, and hopefully you have a winning ticket there, earlier in the day, we're going to have the Grade 3 Bed of Roses. That's race 9 at Belmont Park on Saturday. And the winner of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, Wavell Avenue, is the 6-5 favorite for Chad Brown. This is a big drop in class for him. Is this an easy single in that pick 4 at Belmont Park, or are we looking elsewhere?
I'm looking elsewhere. I think you play against her. I really do. Yeah, I mean, Kobe's back's a favorite that I'm not picking, but I think can win. And it's not, I mean, very rarely, Brian, do you look at a race in which you think the favorite has no chance. Every once in a while, I'll go, wow, this is a favorite that can't win. I think this is a favorite, Wavell Avenue, that very likely won't win. But if she won, I'm not going to, fall off my chair at work. I think I might be on the air for this race. Actually, it's a little bit after when I'm done, but I won't fall off the couch when I'm sitting at home if she wins this race. But I didn't think her last 2 starts were very good. She's kind of non-threatening in the Madison and the Humana Distaff. I know those are better horses. I think people get too caught up in Breeders' Cup wins sometimes. It depends on the Breeders' Cup race. Not all Breeders' Cup races are the greatest races in the world. Some are. Mm-hmm. Some are unbelievable. Some aren't. I wouldn't say the Filly and Mare Sprint from last year. That's an accomplishment to win that race. But was it a great field that day that she beat at Keeneland? I don't think so. And she kind of wore down that field to win by a length and 3/4. This is a very strong Grade 3 event, in my opinion. Left and right. I mean, By the Moon's a Grade 1 winner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was as a 2-year-old, but she won the first at 2. I like Bar of Gold in here because the other problem for Wavell Avenue, Brian, is she's not very quick.
Yes.
And there's not much pace in this race.
Mm-hmm.
We go through the field. West Coast Chick's going to be in front. I don't know if she's good enough to win this race. You see a lot of runners in here that have lost to Paula Silver Lining, who's won back-to-back Grade 3s, the Grade 3 Distaff and the Grade 3 Vagrancy most recently for her. But I think Bar of Gold gets a really good trip. I think West Coast Chick gets the lead. I think Bar of Gold's a better racehorse than her, and I think she stalks her. I know her last win was over a muddy racetrack, and it was a state-bred restricted race in the critical line. Kimmel's Barn has been live. I think she's kind of rounding back into form. She likes it at Belmont Park. I'm going to go with her to get the trip in a race that's wide open, and I'm literally going to gamble that Wavell Avenue is going to have too much to do and not get the pace to her liking. The one thing she does have going for her is I think Rosario is back in the zone again. He's riding really well. But I don't know. I think she's going to be too far back behind a slow pace, Brian, or if Joelle decides to move her a little bit closer, I think then she has kind of flattening out potential in the lane. Maybe she'll lose that late kick that makes her effective if she's relatively or somewhat closer to a pace that's not that fast. So, I'll be playing against Wavell Avenue, and Bar of Gold could, in fact, be a single for me.
Matt, I think you're spot on with that because I remember when I was a little bit younger and I was handicapping, learning from my father, of course, you would always see, you look at the PPs and see, a Breeders' Cup winner, and you automatically think that horse is in the same form that he or she was when they won that race. But, you're a big guy that looks into video and you watch a lot of replays. How important is watching video to be able to determine how on or off a specific horse is?
I think it's very important. I think it's really important. I mean, the only, this isn't a negative, but I think there are some people, there's a lot of good handicappers out there. There are a lot of smart handicappers out there. A lot of people know what they're doing. But there are some folks, I think it's taken me a bit of time to really know. There's watching races and knowing how to watch races, right? It's kind of like, you have that friend who's a casual sports fan, baseball or basketball, and then you have that friend who's an avid fan, and it's different watching the games with them because the avid fan knows what he's looking at, where the casual fan doesn't know it as well. And it's the same thing with replays. I think you got to know what you're looking at, and I think so many people, they fall into, they really look for the obvious stuff. I'm trying to look for subtle things because there's so many players out there that watch videos. And if it's a horse who has a bad trip in a race and it's apparent, everyone in the world sees it. So I'm looking for, you're looking for more nuance, I think, when you're looking at replays. If it's a horse that's explosive normally and they're in a good spot and they just don't seem to have that fire, which might be the case with Wavell Avenue, in her last couple of starts. That's what you're looking for, or things like the rails dead on a particular day, and you see a horse that's making a big move on the inside, or not a big move, but a middle, decent move on the rail, and somebody else might not think much of it, but I know that was a better move than it looks because I know the way the rail was that day. Those are the kind of things I think you look for in video, not the horse that hopped to the start, spotted the field 5 lengths, and made a big move and ran third, because that horse is going to be 6-5 in his next start when he probably should be 2-1.
Matt Carothers, horse racing analyst for TVG. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at MattCTVG. Matt, I love having you on the program, man. You're always dropping knowledge on us, helping us pick some winners over the weekend. I appreciate you giving me the time, and hopefully we can get together again during Saratoga or maybe even before then.
For sure, Brian. Best of luck to you and all the listeners out there. And it should be a very good day of racing at both Belmont and Santa Anita. And you like it when the graded stakes races are very competitive top to bottom, and I think we have that.